While flagship phones are cool, I'm sure you must know that budget phones or say affordable phones make or break a brand's market share in India. And so here we are with a full-blown comparison between two sub 15,000 rupees contenders, the iQOO Z10x and the Poco M7 Plus. And no, this isn't your usual comparison, as while I compare these phones and talk about their various attributes, I will put them through various different tests to determine which one's the better deal. Hello everyone, I'm Ania for Digit, and without wasting any more time, let's get started. On your screens are the prices of both the iQOO Z10x and the Poco M7 Plus, which clearly establishes that the iQOO here is the slightly more expensive model out of the two. In fact, the Poco doesn't even come in a 256GB storage option, but that is justified by its pricing. Okay, before we get going, let's also compare some of the key specs of both devices, as iQOO Z10x claims to be the fastest phone in the segment, while the Poco M7 Plus offers the largest battery in the segment, not to mention a 144Hz refresh rate panel as well. Okay, for those watching our comparison for the first time, both phones will be compared across a time span of 6 hours. The devices are 100% charged and connected to the same Wi-Fi network. The default screen profiles are activated and screen brightness is manually adjusted to around 490 to 500 nits with the help of a lux meter. The audio volume is set at 50%, and with that we first compare the display as we run 2 hours of YouTube video playback. Now let's set our expectations straight. Neither of these phones offer the brightest or most vibrant display, which is understandable given their price points. That said, the LCD panels on both are perfectly decent for everyday use. The iQOO Z10x does have the upper hand here, though, as its screen appears brighter and more vibrant, something you can probably notice in the footage as well. The Poco, on the other hand, leans towards a cooler color tone, while the iQOO maintains a more neutral balance. Overall, the iQOO Z10x's display feels better suited for general viewing thanks to its higher brightness. As for the Poco M7 Plus, its display is fine for what it costs, and it does boast a 144Hz refresh rate, but honestly, anything around 120Hz already feels smooth enough on a phone today, so you're not really missing out on much there. With that, the first round is up, and the Poco M7 Plus has taken the lead with 90% battery left, while the iQOO Z10x is left with 86% battery. In this next round, let's run an hour of video recording, 30 minutes split between the front and rear camera. The iQOO again has an advantage here as it supports 4K recording. Anyway, while the phones are at it, here are the camera specs of both devices. The iQOO Z10x features a dual rear camera system featuring a 50 megapixel primary camera coupled with a 2 megapixel depth sensor, while the front camera is an 8 megapixel sensor. Video recording is capped at 4K 30 FPS from the rear camera, while the front supports 1080p 30 FPS recording. On the other hand, the Poco M7 Plus also has a dual rear camera system featuring a 50 megapixel main camera coupled with a 2 megapixel depth sensor. At the front, there's an 8 megapixel camera, and as for video recording, this phone can record only up to 1080p 30 FPS videos from both the front and rear cameras. Okay, we are done with 30 minutes of video recording from the rear camera. Among the two, the iQOO Z10x recorded a peak of 38 degrees Celsius around the top region, while the Poco M7 Plus fared slightly better as it recorded around 33 degrees Celsius. Moving forward, I ran a 30-minute video recording from the front camera as well, and while the devices are at it, take a look at some of the photos shot from both devices and let us know in the comments which phone you think takes better shots. With that, we are done with an hour of video recording, and the Poco M7 Plus is still in the lead with 82% battery left, while the iQOO Z10x is left with 75% battery. Alrighty, it is now time to run some benchmarks to get an idea if both phones are put under heavy load in the real world, which one is going to give the better endurance. I will also quickly show the surface temperatures, which again peaked at around 35 degrees on the iQOO Z10x and around 33 degrees on the Poco M7 Plus. So first up, the specs. The iQOO Z10x is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 7300 chip coupled with up to 8GB LPDDR4X RAM and 256GB UFS 3.1 storage. The Poco M7 Plus, on the other hand, is powered by the Snapdragon 6S Gen 3 chipset coupled with up to 8GB LPDDR4X RAM and 128GB UFS 2.2 storage. Starting with Geekbench 6, and while the single core score of both phones is almost same, where it really matters is the multi-core score, and the iQOO Z10x pulled ahead of the Poco M7 Plus. Interestingly, when I ran the AnTuTu benchmark using version 11, the test completed successfully, but the scores didn't appear on screen, something that seems to be a common issue with the newer version of AnTuTu. So for reference, I'm using scores sourced from reliable outlets. The iQOO Z10x recorded a score of around 6.8 lakh, while the Poco M7 Plus managed about 4.4 lakh, showing a clear performance gap between the two phones. Moving on to the 3D Mark gaming benchmark, both phones delivered impressive stability scores of 99%. However, when you look at the loop and FPS results, the iQOO Z10x consistently scored nearly twice as high as the Poco M7 Plus. This clearly highlights the strength of the Dimensity 7300 chipset over the Snapdragon 6S Gen 3, especially when it comes to sustained gaming performance. Now here are the benchmark scores of both phones on your screens right now. You can pause and take a look. With that, we are through with about 4 hours, 15 minutes of testing. The Poco M7 Plus is still in the lead with 71% battery left, while the iQOO Z10x is left with 60% battery. Moving on to the gaming round, and as you saw in the benchmarks, neither of the two phones delivered record-breaking numbers, but the iQOO Z10x came out ahead and lives up to its claim of being the fastest in its segment. In everyday use, the Z10x feels a bit more responsive, not dramatically faster, but definitely smoother overall. When it comes to gaming, neither of these phones is built specifically for that purpose, so you're mostly looking at casual titles here. Still, the iQOO Z10x has an edge for the slightly higher price. You get a better chipset too and a faster UFS 3.1 storage, which together make for a noticeably smoother, more stable gaming experience with fewer hiccups on the iQOO Z10x versus the Poco M7 Plus. Alright, we're done with around 45 minutes of gaming, and after a total of 5 hours, the Poco M7 Plus is left with 64% battery, while the iQOO Z10x is left with 53% battery. With that, we are down to the final stretch of our comparison video. I'm now running an hour of Instagram on both phones, but rather than making you wait through it all, let's jump straight to the 6-hour mark. At this point, the iQOO Z10x is left with 45% battery, while the Poco M7 Plus still has 56% battery left. Here's an hour-by-hour breakdown of the battery drain of both phones on your screens right now. So after 6 hours of pushing both phones to their limits, it's clear that while the Poco M7 Plus wins the endurance game, where the iQOO Z10x pulls ahead is where it really matters. That is performance, display quality, and overall responsiveness. Sure, it costs a bit more, but that extra money genuinely brings better speed, storage, and polish to the table. Overall, the Poco M7 Plus for its price is a great all-rounder, no doubt, but if you want a phone that feels faster and more refined in day-to-day use, the iQOO Z10x definitely justifies the upgrade. Rest, what do you guys think of the comparison? Let me know in the comments, and as always, I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.